He saw it coming decades ago, and it's exactly what he said would happen.
Ontario is a massive province located in central Canada. It spans more than 1 million square kilometers, an area just shy of all of Scandinavia. Its climate to the north is severe. Along Hudson Bay, temperatures can drop to minus 40 degrees Celsius, while temperatures in the south are moderate and far less extreme. Temperatures can vary throughout the province in a single year more than 70 degrees. And when it comes to fresh water, there are few places on Earth with such an abundance. There are more than 250,000 lakes, not to mention the streams and rivers that connect them. 1/5 of the world's fresh water is found here.
And this is where my interest lies. There are roughly 48 game fish species in Ontario, not including crosses, which is far beyond anywhere else in Canada. So why are there so many species here? My brother and I have been on a mission our entire lives to explore every lake and river we could find, constantly striving to learn more and more about water and fish and their environment. What I'm realizing is that I've underestimated the complexity of the ecosystems here, that the story doesn't really come together until you factor in the human element. You can't look at the ecosystems here from solely a biological viewpoint because we've introduced so many species that have no relation to the Ontario landscape. I'm realizing that much of what we're seeing is artificial, and that by looking to the past we can see where it once was.
From the letters of early European settlers to the Great Lakes area, it appears that Atlantic salmon populations were healthy prior to the mid-1800s. English immigrant John Thompson writes in 1819, "Our place is situated on the mouth of a creek on the Lake Ontario, famous for fish, chiefly salmon. Since we came, there has been 100 caught in one night. They say the darker the better, as they have a grate on the bow of the vessel, whereon they burn pine, which casts such a light that they can see to dart the fish. A man can dart 40 or 50 in one night." But by about 1890, Atlantic salmon had disappeared from Lake Ontario, and in their place, brown trout and common carp were introduced from Europe. Rainbow trout and 5 species of salmon were brought from the Pacific, and several native species were transferred to areas of the province that they had never inhabited before. The number of species was climbing, but it would come with a cost. For decades, brook trout numbers have dropped across the province. Overfishing has decimated the population, but arguably even more severe was the transfer of smallmouth bass and other warm water species into brook trout environments. For species that adapt easily, a transfer often creates opportunity, a clean slate with little competition and plenty of food. And as these species multiply and expand throughout the system, the balance starts to shift, and the decline of more sensitive species, like the brook trout, soon follows. The result is a complete restructuring of the ecosystem, the undoing of a design that took millions of years to create. And as the climate warms, the stresses will continue to mount. In Algonquin Park, it's predicted that annual temperatures will warm between 1.3 to 2.5 degrees Celsius in the 2020s. And though this may not seem drastic, its effects will be felt throughout the whole system. Temperature affects metabolism, the timing of seasonal events like spawning. It affects the growth of invertebrates, aquatic plants, and available nutrients. Warmer waters will keep the lake stratified for longer periods throughout the year, meaning that cold water species will have to survive longer without replenished oxygen supplies. It all points to an environment that increasingly favors warm water species and puts species like the brook trout at a further disadvantage. It's predicted that brook trout numbers in Canada will drop between 30 to 40% by 2050. So what do we do about this?
My grandpa used to bring us here to fish brookies. We'd come here and fish right off of this rock, and I can remember catching the last brookie we ever caught here. My brother and my grandpa and I were here, and it was a sunny morning, pretty much just like this. And it wasn't long after that we started to see some largemouth bass, and I remember catching a big one down there on the other end, and it was within a couple years that the brookies completely disappeared from here. And that's a long time ago now. That's probably 25 years ago, but it's pretty crazy to think that we're the generation that saw them disappear. And I can remember him telling us, he told us that someday they'll be a thing of the past.
Change is inevitable, but change created by humans is unlike anything created by nature. We've lived as though the world was made for us, but it's time to see our planet differently. It's time to move forward with humility, knowing and accepting the fact that everything has a place and that everything in nature is connected. There's still so much we've yet to discover, that even the smallest, most unassuming life form plays a role, whether we understand it or not. And perhaps it's not about finding that one perfect solution, but rather a shift towards a new way of thinking, where all life on Earth is considered essential. Perhaps it's about working towards something that's far greater than ourselves.
And all you can do is do your best and put your faith in what's coming. I wanna be free, but I don't know how. I wanna give my love and have it come back around. I wanna be me, but for that to be enough, no, I don't wanna be half the man I was. Oh, I wanted to be happy and have everything she needs. We've both tried our best, we've landed on our knees. It's not her fault, it's not mine. And I'm begging you to stay, but I'm letting you go. Life's not perfect.
Think that, right?
I wanna be in the quiet zone.
Very
Wanna
nice,
be
buddy.
here on my own.
I'm going out there.
Wanna see what I can do. I don't know what I'd be if you were to.